All right.
Think. Hang on. Sweet. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. So after a wild Canada that resulted in a first-time winner, and we had, yeah, it was quite a lot of fun in that one. But now we move on to one of the fastest tracks in regards to F1 in regards to time. This is RPL F1 Season 9. We are here in Round 9 for Austria. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ironwolf on commentary, and I'm not alone. Joining me is RPL F2 and Tier 2 commentator Ryan Alcon. Glad to have you back again, buddy.
I am so glad to be alongside you once again. Missing last week, I made sure to prep myself even more, considering how I missed out on that one. I prepped myself with a lot of stats, a lot of tire wear stuff, a lot of information that is useful. I also went back and looked at last season's race, and the difference compared to that one is that one was a sprint race last season, and this one's not. So this should be interesting in the way drivers prep in comparison to last season. Not only that, but we also have a qualifying session ahead of us right now, and similar to real life earlier this morning, well, morning for me, afternoon for everyone else, traffic's going to be crazy, and this should be something to watch out for in qualifying, whether it's Q1, Q2, and potentially Q3. Traffic might be an issue for these drivers, and yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch. So you can get the pole. The championship's closer than ever this season, I would say. The constructors, it's semi-close, so we're getting there. And the rest of the field is more prepared than ever, I would say. This should be fun.
Indeed. So taking a look at last week. So last week in Canada, we had our first-time winner, that being Josh, was the winner in the Mercedes. TB wound up getting himself in the second, and Reese was finished in third place. In the Drivers' Championship, Scyther continues his, still stays ahead in the championship with 112 over Reese with 110, and TB is sitting in third with 99. In the Constructors, Red Bull still continues its lead with 31 points over Ferrari, 245 to 214, and Mercedes, thanks to their win from Josh, they brought it up over Aston Martin, 112 to 73. And here's what's really interesting is that after we concluded from Canada, a few switches wound up happening.
A lot.
Take, for example, Josh, who wound up winning in the Red Bull. Well, wound up winning in the Mercedes. He's going to Red Bull. TB, by the way, got removed from Red Bull and is now an Alpine. But taking a look here, we're here in Q1, and we have right now 18 drivers participating. We will have a 19th on the way. So let's take a look at the drivers that are involved in this session. So, to kick things off...
There's your 19th.
Oh, there's our 19th. So, here's what we got. So, we got Bourbon in the Red Bull, filling in for Josh. We have Cryptic in the Mercedes. Luke on loan in the Williams. Spenny in Alpine. Minions in the AlphaTauri. Zakaria in the Aston Martin. Boss Cookie, Mercedes. Stenner just returned back from a league race. He is in a Ferrari, filling in for Scyther, who is not here tonight. Cam, brand new driver, making his F1 RPL debut. Wiseau in the AlphaTauri. PSR Francis debuted earlier in F2. This is his first F1 appearance. The Chiller in the Ferrari. That person on loan in the Haas, Will in the Williams, Reese in Red Bull, Redfire Tiger in McLaren, Tadpole on loan to Alfa Romeo, TB in the Alpine, and Grandpa, aka Gerard, is in the Haas. So literally out of this field, Only one's missing.
Speaking of missing, how about Scyther, who is leading the championship, 2 points over Reese, as you just mentioned not too long ago. And there's one driver you didn't mention who's within a race of the championship leader, the Chiller. The Chiller, and that person goes fastest as we say that, but the Chiller is 5 points back from TB now. Probably going to overtake him after this race if he has a good enough race. And is 16 points behind Reese. With TB in a slower car now, Scyther not here. This is perfect for the Chiller, who, by the way, scoring points in every race, has kept up some sort of consistency. I know there's a couple of drivers who've not been at every race, but with the Chiller scoring points in every round so far this season, I know there's only 8 rounds that's been done so far. That's a stat we'll have to look out for later in the season to see if he could become the first person to score points in every round of the season. I don't think anyone's ever done that. We got talking about that before the stream that a lot of you in chat did not hear about. We were kind of curious about that, and we'll make sure we look that up for you before next week's race or before the end of the season for sure. Yeah, the Chiller is one I'm looking out for. You want someone who can take advantage besides Reese out of that top 3? Well, I think the Chiller is the one today who absolutely has the best chance to take advantage and really should be taking advantage, because if he doesn't, then it's a little worrisome for Ferrari and himself as well. Thing is, as well, that I want to mention quickly before we get into any laps, Titan, I want to mention some corners around here that are tricky that we're going to watch out for in the race, whether it be from either me or from you or anyone engineering a driver as well. One of the trickiest corners to go side by side and to handle with curbs is turn 1. Gets people out every time, it seems. Turn 3 is so tough on the traction, and if you're side by side there, you can't fully pinch one another a lot of the time, so that's a tough turn as well. Turn 7 and 8 is tough with the track limits, spins, and carrying your momentum through the corner, and sometimes just simple traction. Then turn 9 and 10 is just tougher. Side-by-side action and track limits, those are a couple of corners that will catch people out in this qualifying session when it comes to either invalidating or potential spins, especially turn 10. We'll have to see what happens, whether it be qualifying with track limits or the race with that as well. I was thought I couldn't allow you to fix your mic a little more, but yeah, I think those are some corners we'll watch out for when it comes to qualifying and the race itself today.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had some issues with my mic, but well, this is actually interesting because well, we just figured out.
Oh.
Come on.
I thought the stream could hear me for a moment, but I think I'm good now. I didn't have my stuff turned up. They could hear you better than I could, so that is good. You were going to mention something. I'll cut in quickly, and I'm going to mention that a very interesting thing, as we see on screen, Molly invalidated, a very interesting thing to focus on is the pole time last season, a 4.0, which was set by Scyther. We're going to see if we go faster than a 4.0 this season or not. It was a 4.017 to be exact, just as you see the top time currently on the board. And it was Red Bull who got pole last season.
Piece of junk. I'm hating this freaking headset right now.
Oh my god.
But am I good? Can you hear me good?
Yes, I can. I can hear you pretty good. Yeah.
Thank God. Okay, so what I was trying to say before my audio cut out, I'm on board with Mally41, aka Will.
Yep.
He is a last-second reserve and was supposed to be given a quality ban to serve. He has ignored it and set a timed lap.
The only way to counter that for himself at this point and not get any worse, or at least avoid the penalty. I don't know if you can avoid the penalty in that sense. I'm just gonna say that right now. I don't know, but his only way.
He can, because he was reminded that he was gonna have a quality ban, But failure to do that quality ban for being a last-second reserve, sadly, it's basically we're now down to 19 people. Will, in this sense, for failing to serve his quality ban for being a last-second reserve, Will's going to be disqualified from this event.
I was going to say, the only way he counters that, in my opinion, I don't know what the rule looks like in that, on whether there's a difference between failure to serve penalty or failure to serve penalty correctly. But if he ends up just simply disqualifying himself from this session as Cryptic crashes out, he had a good time in too. Before we get to that for a moment, yeah, if Molly ends up disqualifying himself from the session, ends up, doing it in a safe session, then, in all honesty, he might only get the penalty for failing to serve it correctly. I'm just thinking that in my head. I mean,
oh, Cryptic crashed somewhere.
Yeah, that was at turn 2, turn 3 area. I was gonna say, but
damn,
going over the Molly.
Unfortunate.
Going over the Molly stuff.
Also, Zakaria, he had a quality ban to serve for being a last-second reserve, and he almost set a lap. He dunked onto the pits in the last second to avoid it.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's the only way that Molly can avoid that. In my opinion, can avoid the disqualification. Someone will have to pass that on. I don't know who can verify that with the rules, whether it be Jack or Owen. But
Lewis Piper's on the list, so he's good.
Yeah, he went in the lobby last minute though, so that's why you see him join us as 20th member not too long ago. That was happening during the Molly drama and the Cryptic crash, which I didn't catch that. I wanted to cover the Molly stuff to finish off. Yeah.
Oh.
It was turn 2, turn 3.
Okay, so apparently if you do set a lap when you're supposed to serve a quali ban, the only way to save yourself from not getting a race ban and disqualification from the race, disqualify yourself from Q1.
Yeah, so I was right about that. Yeah, I wasn't fully sure about that, but I mean, he's going out. He looks like he's blasting his way into turn 9 right here, and I don't know. I really wonder. I know you're not on board with Molly, but
it looks like poor Weiso's having some issues staying connected to the session.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Beside that with Molly, by the way, I know you don't see it right now, but he seems like he's flying and going for another lap. So I don't know. Maybe he has ignored that in that sense, and hopefully he can, I don't know, maybe waste tires and go for disqualification.
On my end, I'm on board with Boss Cookie right now. Now, what's interesting, Boss Cookie, we haven't seen him in quite a while. I think this is his first race this season.
No, he has a podium earlier this season.
We haven't seen him at all since last season, but it'll be interesting to see how Cookie does back in F1 here in the Mercedes at Austria. So he comes out of the final corner now to get across the line and set a lap. Bourbon sets the fastest lap right now with a 3.9. Boss Cookie, 4th fastest, sandwiching the Ferraris with a 4.2.
Yeah, apologies for cutting in there. I was going to say, Boss Cookie, I think he does. No, he definitely does. He definitely has to start the season, because the first 2 rounds, Aston Martin got their 2 podiums. They've kind of vanished away from the podiums since then, and Boss Cookie was a part of one of those podiums for Aston Martin at the beginning part of the season. So, he has raced this season, but it's not been since the beginning. Okay. So we'll have to see how he can do at Mercedes this time compared to Aston Martin, because that's where Aston Martin got their 2 podiums at the start of the season, the first 2 rounds.
Indeed. So currently, we've got one driver checking out now, just completing through Sector 2, is Cam. Cam is making his debut here in Tier 1. We'll see how well he fares. Now, he was signed to Ferrari Academy last week, and he was gonna race in Canada, but then something came up and he couldn't race. But he is here in his debut, and check that out. 4.5, sitting P6, and he's only 500ths behind Reese right now.
Yeah, Alfa Romeo. I know. Obviously, Tadpole going to Alfa Romeo here. I know that's another driver change as well. I was going to say Tadpole to the Ferrari Academy. But, yeah, Alfa Romeo, 6th and 12th right now. They're looking strong to get out of Q1 right now. And with that said, I mentioned teams on podium. Well, outside of the big three teams, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, Alfa Romeo, besides Aston Martin, are the only other team to have a podium on this season. And, if Cam can put in the performance today and a lot of contenders have issues, then, I mean, Alfa Romeo could be looking at their second podium of the season if he ends up having things go the right way. A long shot, but hey,
Indeed.
worth mentioning.
Yeah, definitely worth a mention there. And as you alluded to earlier, Darius being the only driver in F1 so far to have scored points in every single race so far. And that's actually a really good accomplishment. And I really don't know. I mean, I have to look in my history counter to see if anyone has done it. But I don't think anyone has scored points in every single race for the entire season. I mean, we've had some get close, but you never know what will happen in RPL. But here comes Spenny, gets a little loose out of the final corner, comes across the line. It's only 12th fastest in the Alpine. Now, Spenny, what's interesting with him, he is a Tier 2 driver for Alpine, and it's basically back home for him because Spenny is the Season 3 Tier 2 champion when it was known as F1.5.
Interesting.
And what's more nuts is that with him, his teammate, TB, was who he beat for the championship.
That's funny.
And literally, they were tied on points. But the way the tiebreaker was decided, it was Spenny who won because he had 4 victories compared to TB's 2.
Wow.
That's how Spenny wound up winning the championship. And an even more big kicker, the team TB was in at that time, well, for Spenny and TB, Spenny was in the Red Bull, while TB was in the Alpine, while it was known as Renault.
Interesting. Hey, if
so
Alpine...
in a sense, for TB being in Alpine,
there we go.
It basically comes full circle for him.
He's disqualified. Molly's disqualified himself, but he was parked right in front of 3 cars right there. I don't know. I don't think any of them were on a lap. Luckily, maybe one of them were. I doubt it, but that was a little hairy there because the 3 cars that were around Molly had to negotiate.
Cam's on a cool down lap.
Yeah.
And that person was on an out lap, so
Francie also
they weren't affected
on the out lap. So I think Molly will be fine, but on the sense of no one was on laps. But I'm a little worried on the fact that maybe they had to avoid him there. That was a little hairy. And yeah, if you're not out on track right now, get out there. And speaking of Alpine, as I was just gonna say, sorry for cutting in again. I was gonna say, Alpine, if they want any good news for European races, well, they've scored points in all the European races so far this season. So maybe it's another one today. As here we go. Here's some drivers starting the final laps. Take it away, Titan.
We're on board with the reserve driver PSR Franchi, who debuted earlier in F2. So we'll get our telemetry up here as he's making his way down the first DRS zone, getting close to 200 miles an hour into the heavy braking zone at turn 3. Now it's back up to the gears, into the right immediately into DRS zone number 2. Works his way down, now heading up into turn number 4. As Cam's heading to the pits, he's retired. We're getting right to the end here, so literally PSR Franchi, Lewis Piper and Weiso yet to get a lap out. And as he works down now into turn 6, here we go, now up through 7 and 8 as begins sector 3. I mean, the map says purple sectors, but you never know what's going to happen, really. Now, here we go into the quick corners of turns 9 and 10. This is where you'll see a lot of invalidations, and later on in the race, you'll see a lot of track limit warnings and penalties here. Nice and easy as he comes across the line and is P8 in the Aston Martin. Very good run for the Tier 1 newcomer.
Lewis Piper's going purple. We need to switch to this because Lewis Piper has put in some great races this season. If he can put in a good qualifying performance from not having set a lap and being late to the session as he slides, this would be great. Coming to the line, 13th. He might just be safe. He can run another lap because he got to the checkered flag a second before it was out. As checkered flag now waves, it's going to be between 14th and 16th with who gets through. Some guys in some very vulnerable positions right now.
Tadpole getting really loose and
Invalidated.
just invalidates out of the final corner. So sadly, Tadpole is done. And unfortunately, he didn't improve on his time. Just that car getting so evil on him.
TB's in. Luke's
And
2
TB
tenths
made it
off.
through, but sadly, it knocks Luke out.
Oh, he
Does
just
on
misses
here.
it.
Oh, he improves, but not enough. So
Oh.
Luke is going to be knocked out of Q1.
That's the second season in a row at Austria that both Williams are in the bottom 5. I saw that slide, and the scary part is he would have knocked Lewis Piper out, who had just barely got in, and even Spenny just barely getting in as well. There's a lot of big names who could have been out right there, and I think the shock for me of that session, besides the DNFs, Tadpole right there. Alfa Romeo had it going there for quite half the session with both drivers. Tadpole was 12th. He looked like maybe he was safe, but then everyone sets the laps that they need to at the end, and we're looking like we've just beat the pole time last season. So we should be seeing some interesting times coming into Q2 and Q3 now.
Yeah, what's more nuts is with Tadpole's lap, 1.3 seconds off of the top driver, and he's 9 tenths behind his teammate. But yeah, that's the end of Q1. So Bourbon, DeChiller, and Boss Cookie, once again, just like last week in Canada, one driver each from the big 3 in the top 3. And we say goodbye to both Williams, Will and Luke, the AlphaTauri of Wiseau, the Aston Martin of Zakaria, the Alfa Romeo of Tadpole, and crashing out, the Mercedes of Cryptic. So we're going to have 14 going into Q2. And yeah, once we get into ourselves into Q2, for those to get into Q3, top 10 have to make it in there, and the 4 slowest are eliminated.
4 Mercedes Academy drivers out in Q1. Wow. That I probably did not have my bingo card, but I will say they're going to be one to watch with the rest of the Academy drivers who are left here in Q2. Should be fun. And again, you mentioned it, 5 drivers eliminated in Q1. Well, technically 6 because of the crash from Cryptic. 4 drivers, technically 5 in a way, eliminated from Q2 again. Let's see what it's going to be because, you know, again, some big name drivers got in the session just barely. Are they going to hang on by a thread again, or are they going to be out by a thread? Let's find out here in
Looks
Q2.
like the Red Bulls are going to be the first ones out, and it's going to be led by Bourbon. Kind of interesting to see the Red Bulls being the first group out. This will be quite interesting to see at least. And looks like is that either Darius or Stenner coming out? Oh, it's Darius coming out. So we got Darius and both Red Bulls out on track to start off for their out laps. Looks like Reese will be leading the charge first. While these guys are on an out lap, I think it's time for our predictions time. In your opinion, who do you think is going to be the 4 slowest to be knocked out from Q2?
From the way we're looking at it right now, oh, this is tough. Well, Minions in the AlphaTauri. I know he's done great at performing that car.
I'm going to interrupt for just a second, but apparently the safety car is on the circuit.
Where?
I'm on board with Darius. He's going through, the safety car is going through turn 10 right now.
Let me go to the other Red Bull here.
Yeah, and DeTiller just smacked into the back of it and just goes right through.
Nick, is
but
that
the
you on the
safety
track
car
again?
is on the track right now. It's going down the main straight.
You know what? I noticed this. Whenever Williams gets eliminated in Q1 by something like Beatnik at Spain, this thing happens. The next session after. Beatnik, why are you on the track? Get off the track. You're not here. It's the second time this season Beatnik's been on the track as a ghost. Oh my god. You know what?
Who's to say it's Beatnik driving? It could be Leon.
Hey, it could be Molly at that point. Molly didn't get enough track time, so he's just preparing for the race.
Yeah,
you know?
could be true, yes.
Didn't serve his qualifying ban, right? You know? So, I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure they want to look at him now. Now he's getting himself in more trouble by being in the safety car. Boardman's just gone purple. I know
I
that
mean, if
doesn't
he's in the game, Burt
matter
Mylander
right
is
now,
probably
but-
not happy that his safety car's been hijacked again.
Oh my God. We're gonna have to tell Beatnik about that one, and man, and Molly, too. But Red Bull.
I just think that's really funny, the fact that the safety car's on the track.
Oh my God. Well, hey, all things aside, Red Bull's just beating the Q1 time. That's 3-8. Here, we spoke about predictions before getting out in Q2, and we'll talk about that in a moment once we have a little bit of a broader picture. But I want a question for you to counter that argument about the 4 going out. Are we going to see anything better than a 3, or sorry, what should we set the benchmark here? 3.5, 3.6? Like, where do we think we're getting, I should say? I'm not going to try to say yes or no about a 3.5 or not, but where do we think we're getting when it comes to in terms of pole next session? A 3.5, a 3.6, 3.7, maybe a 3.4 to stretch? Where are we going with this? With the lap time for pole?
For pole time?
Yes.
At the Q3, I'm going to say pole time is probably going to be a 3. I'm going to say, and I'm actually going to go into the 100th section.
Okay.
I'm going to say pole is going to be a 3.65. Somewhere around that area. That's what I'm thinking pole will be in Q3.
I'll go bolder than you, okay? I'm going to go 3.5 here. I think we can see it. I think these drivers are able to push the limits. I think some of them, such as Bourbon, are hiding something. Molly clearly hiding something with the safety car. I can't get over that.
I can't get over it either. I just switched to red fire and the safety car's on the back straight in DRS too.
You know what? I think he just wants to provide some action. In all honesty, that's too
quite
funny.
in honesty.
That's too funny.
Well, anyways,
believe that.
So I'm gonna take my predictions and go with who I think is gonna be knocked out. From
let's do that
Q2.
now.
I'm gonna safely say, let's see. I'm gonna say, I can't say exactly for one of them, but I'm gonna say at least one of the McLarens is gonna be knocked out.
Okay.
The new guy, PSR Franchi, I think he's going to get knocked out. Gerard is probably going to get knocked out. And the last one to be knocked out, and it's going to be just barely. I think Spenny's going to be knocked out. And I think I'm going to rub even more salt into that wound for Alpine. I think Spenny is going to be knocked out. He's going to qualify 11th, and he's going to be beat by his teammate.
Yeah. I could see it. So, I'll go a little different than you. Trying to think here. I really am trying to think here quite a bit of this. So, I'll go with... I said Minions at the start, but I'm going to change my mind. At AlphaTauri's, it's going to be a strong suit around this track, obviously, in my opinion. I kind of going to change my mind on that. So, I'll go with you as well. I'll say one McLaren, but I'm going to say it's going to be Red Fire. I'll say... I want to say Grandpa's going to be out, but it's tough. I'll say he's going to be out. I have to say there at least has to be a Haas in my prediction who's going to be out. That's 2. All right, so... Spenny, I'm fine with going with him as well being out. And I say Francie in his debut, I think he goes into Q3. I'm going to counter you on that argument. And... I don't know. I know Cam showed a lot in Q1. I don't want to say he's going to be out. I think he's going to be in. But at the rate we're going, I'm going to say fake TB as well. I don't think the Alpines actually have the pace to be in the top 10. I know this is a track that should suit them, but, you know.
Yeah.
Grandpa luckily somehow just stayed in the session right there. I don't think you were on board with him, but he went in to the pit lane extremely hot and hit the pit wall right there on the left side, right where the barriers were, and he just touched it with his left tire. I think there's a little damage on his car, maybe very small, like lime green, but he's lucky to be in the session right now. I'll tell you that. Mr. Chiller goes second fastest. So speaking of pole times, chat, in about a good 10 minutes, maybe 12, give us your prediction for pole, and what do you think the lap time for pole will be, chat? That'll be a good talking point between us. We have a mention in chat about Burn Mareliner. I know I just actually butchered it. I know the name. Goes on provisional pole with that safety car being out on the
I
track.
just saw that too.
So, yeah, I know I absolutely butchered it. So I'm gonna get a lot of crap for that. And speaking of one of your drivers you had out there, Titan Francie, goes 6th fastest in the Aston Martin right now.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. It's quite impressive for one of the newcomers. Cam is out on an out lap right now. He's currently 11th and currently the slowest in regards to times. But while we were getting a laugh out of the safety car being on the track and taking our predictions on who is going to be knocked out from Q2, looking at our field, Bourbon right now is the fastest right now with a 3.814. The Chiller is currently in second with an 8.59. And Reese is currently sitting in third with a 4.193. So, I mean, literally, first and second, only separated by 45 thousandths of a second. And literally 400ths of a second separate Reese and Boss Cookie, who's sitting in fourth.
I'm sorry, I can't get it. I can't stop laughing about the chat with today. You guys have been great. I know for a Quiet F2 stream and a little laid back tier 2 stream earlier,
Show us the safety car.
You guys have found some sense of humor.
We
Yeah,
need to find it.
I know, we need to find it. Hey, maybe that's because there was a car knocked out, based on a DNF, and that's the 15th car in Q2 here. Cam's on a lap.
Well, I mean, it did happen when Cryptic crashed.
That's true. Yeah.
Where is the safety car right now?
Good question, because I can't see it.
I can't find it either.
Well, I guess we both can identify as blind for today. Well, Cam is up 2/10 on his time. Purple in the first sector, it says, I want you to write, well, you already are riding on board with this lap. I want you to talk about how to perfect a lap at Austria while I quickly grab a water here, Titan. Hugging the curbs to turn 4. Here we go.
Currently going through with Austria. It's just basically getting it going hard and fast in a lot of these corners. Literally, it's one of the fastest tracks in regards to time on the counters. Cam currently getting through sector 2, almost 3/4 of a second up in that section. This is gonna put him up in the 8th place here, as there's the safety car going through the final corner. So here comes Cam around the final corner through the line. Holy crap!
Well,
4.183.
I think
Cam's
you're wrong.
third.
I think you're wrong now. Why'd you predict him out? I see something in him. I think he's going to get through. And I just missed the safety car being in the last corner. I'm so mad about that. I'm so mad about
right
that.
Right now, he's currently in turn number 1 right now. Yep, there he is. I just caught on Lewis Piper as he's coming out of the pits.
I'll go on board the
And
Mercedes.
there's the safety car. There's your safety car appearance, gents. So 4 minutes left to go in this session. Currently 2 drivers yet to set a time right now. It is Minions and that person yet to set a lap.
Yeah, Jack.
And
Good. Sorry.
and there's the safety car again. I'm actually gonna go mention on one thing. We do actually have to mention on something. We do have seats for next season already starting to fill in.
That's true.
Since we're in with Tier 1, I'll mention the Tier 1 ones for right now. So, Alpine for next season, Spenny has been confirmed for Season 10 in the Alpine. Mercedes, Cryptic has been confirmed to go in another season. And in Red Bull, one of the shocking ones, Jack Miles, the co-team principal of Red Bull, he is going to get his shot in the Red Bull next season. That is for Tier 1. Now for Tier 2, one team is complete in that regard. That being Minions, who is in the AlphaTauri right now, and the Tier 2 Ferrari driver of Bonkers5, aka Bonky. He is going to be his teammate. So Red Bull's got a stacked pair for that sense.
Oh, you talk about this.
That person on loan in the Haas, he's going to Ferrari next season for Tier 2. Lando Norris, a driver in Mercedes Academy, he is going to Alfa Romeo. Haas Instinct gets an extension. He'll be staying in the Haas for next season. Aston Martin Invade, who raced in Ferrari and Haas and stuff like that, he's going to Aston Martin next season.
Wow.
And finally, Kipu is getting an extension to season 10 for Tier 2. He is going to be in the Williams. And just catching Lewis Piper crossing the line to go 7th fastest for 309. Stenner has retired from the Q session. He's sitting in 8th, and that's actually kind of worrying. I'm not sure if Stenner's gonna stay in it, or is Stenner going to get knocked out of Q2. There's 90 seconds left as, whoa, that person almost lost it out of turn 1, keeps it together, but because of that really freak scare, he's gonna have to try again. Spenny, let's see where Spenny is. Okay, he's currently in turn number 4. See, here he comes up for turn 5. There's a Mercedes right there. That's Boss Cookie, who's also on a timed lap.
Yeah, he just invalidated previously. That's why I was making some noises there in the background. He did invalidate, and he did it again. That's a second lap in a row.
PSR Francie, by the way, 4th fastest, and he's retired. He is 3 milliseconds faster than Reese.
Yeah. Alpine getting a big slipstream here.
So here comes Spenny across the line, and it's only going to be 11th fastest. Ooh. So I think Spenny is going to be knocked out of Q2.
Well, currently, his teammate Fake TB is 2 tenths up in the first sector, now 5 tenths up in the middle sector. This could be knocking Redfire Tiger out if everything goes right here and in the final sector. In the last 2 corners now, up in front of him. McLaren and Haas just also crossing the line for their final laps, it looks like. But Fake TB, keeping within track limits so far, comes to the line, DRS applied. Is he going to be in? Yes, just barely. Well, actually, 2 tenths.
TB gets into 9th place. That puts Redfire into the bottom 5, and Redfire's invalidated, so Redfire is done. Spenny is done.
Spenny getting held up here.
Next up is Gerard. He's going to get into the final couple of corners.
Spenny went for a second one.
Minions is holding his breath.
And he just got held up here by Boss Cookie. Spenny was going for a second one. Now he was down a 10th. Sorry, car coming to the line. I'll let you take over now.
And Gerard just comes across and can't improve, so Gerard is out. That person is next. So basically, Stenner is going to be safe into Q3. Let's see if Minions can get himself into Q3, or will that person pull off an upset?
Minions
we'll see as he comes out of the final couple of corners. Minions, Tier 2 Red Bull driver on board for next season. That person comes across the line, and it is 9th fastest. Minions is eliminated from Q2.
Yeah, he was in the pit lane there at the end, and I shake my head a little bit. I know he went out a little earlier than most did, and he didn't even get a chance for another go, and I was just about to cut in and say he was going to be very lucky there with most drivers invalidating, but it has backfired. So an AlphaTauri, a McLaren, an Alpine, and a Haas out here in Q2, and this field is close. 1.1 seconds, everyone separated by. Fair play.
Indeed. And what's more nuts is literally from 3rd to 7th are separated by basically just over a 10th of a second. And literally Cam in 3rd, Francie 4th, 7 milliseconds behind him, and Reese is 3 milliseconds behind PSR Francie. I mean, I'm baffled on the Alfa Romeo and the Aston Martin performing that strong.
I expected it from what we saw in Q1. I really did. I thought they were going to be barely in, but they actually got in a lot more than I thought they would. Fake TB barely sliding in there as well. Dat person, fair play to Haas, honestly, getting at least 1 car in. So there's 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, a Mercedes, an Aston Martin, a McLaren, an Alpine, a Haas, an Alfa Romeo. It's a decent-sized Q3, and there's 4 different teams in the top 4. Is a 3-8 at the top of the board from Bourbon. We have 2 drivers in the 3s. We'll see who gets to the 3s when it comes to Q3.
Well,
As for the drivers eliminated. I'll let you talk in just a moment there. Sorry about that. Minions, Fire,
It's all good.
Spenny,
Well,
Grandpa.
I just noticed it when I'm looking at the board here. Stenner, he got his lap on the medium compound. That's how he got. That's kind of weird, crazy. It's just like in F121 where literally these guys are setting their they set their lap on that. They just go with a harder tire just to have a better shot in there. But that's just wild for Stenner to be there. But yeah, Bourbon, fastest in Q2. Darius fast second, and Cam in third. And you know what? I'm actually gonna go extremely nuts when I say this.
Oh,
I
God.
think if I had to picture my top three, and I'm going dead on,
Chat, give us your
I
predictions.
think it's the top three from Q2. Bourbon will get pole, Darius will get second, and Cam is going to be third.
Man, you are just going bold. You know, I get it.
Oh,
that
yeah.
I get it that Jack got a podium in an Alfa Romeo earlier this season. I'm not going on the Cam hype train too much just yet. I get he's done really well, but you know what? Chat, give us your pole predictions in top three, and maybe pole time too while we're at it. Like we said, 3.5. You said 3.6, 3.65 to be exact. I'm gonna go with. Man, I really want to put Reese in that top two, but I don't know if I could do it. I'll go with Bourbon. All right. Bourbon.
Okay.
We'll make it a Red Bull one too. Bourbon, Reese, the Chiller. But since and you are, I agree, Jack. I could see it. Baku Merchant right there. You know, you did see a good qualifying position in that race. So fair play on your podium there for Alfa Romeo. But since we're speaking of Alfa Romeo, I think at the big shocker of the session is actually gonna be Cam, but in fourth, not third. And I think, you know, Francie will be up there as well. Yeah. Speaking of different drivers and all the shocks, we have 8 different teams in the session. The only team with double cars is the Chiller starts his lap here as you're on board with him. The only team with double cars in this session is Red Bull and Ferrari, which they're 2 of 3 teams who've scored points every round this season.
I don't think in Q3, I don't think we've had a Q3 session where we basically had one car from every team in the top 10. We never had it happen yet, I don't think.
Yeah, well, we're surely getting close with how competitive this is getting. Maybe by the car performance update we get there at some point, depending on who's in what car, of course, and if we have any Baku merchants in a lower team car, you know, since we speak of Jack. But yeah, I think we're here for some very interesting stuff. By the way, stream is only 3 to 2 seconds off, so you're seeing it just about live action as the Chiller is coming through turn 7 and turn 8. Let's finish this lap with the Chiller. Turn 9 and turn 10 are up. Some tricky sections and track limits. Gotta nail it. I think he's done just that so far at turn 9. Now gonna do it at turn 10. Not fully to the bottom of the curb, but comes to the line. This is the time to beat. It's a 4-1. Can anyone better that? We've seen a 3-8 at the top of the sessions. A Red Bull starts their lap. That is Reese. Next to the line, that's Boss Cookie. Boss Cookie, a 44.7 in the middle sector, comes to the line. Pretty smooth so far. How about this? 4-0. So the times are improving. A McLaren is next. That's Lewis Piper. What can he do? He's 4/10 off. So we're still having a close qualifying session, but no one into the 3.9s just yet.
Indeed, it looks like that person has just invalidated out of turn 9, which means sadly the lap that he was about to set, which was a 5-0, not only is that invalidated, but his very next one is also invalidated as well.
ATB 5-0.
Reese is currently going through turn number 6 right now to get his first lap in. And the rest of the cars are working their way through. Franchi,
10th up from
Cam,
the
and Bourbon, they're going to get ready to go as Reese passes Cam. Now comes out of the final corner. Let's see what Reese has as he comes across the line.
There we go.
And we're in the 3s.
There we go.
3.879 for Reese.
Cam just starting the lap behind that, the Mercedes. McLaren of Lewis Piper coming next, obviously on an in lap. I think the next guy is, well, the Haas is just invalidated. Who's next? Fake TB
That would
set
be
a 5-0.
Well,
Aston.
I'm not sure if TB's improving. Nope,
No.
he's not. He's on a cooldown.
Aston.
So it's going to be PSR Franchi. He's going to be next.
That's 3/10 off Reese in the middle sector. So we're going to see a lap that's probably 4th fastest, depending on what this last sector looks like. Aston Martin kind of need this race after the way they started out the season. Got a 4th place finish here and there, but this is where you could sneak something in. Speaking of that, how about 4th place there from Francie, sneaking right in between the Chiller and Lewis Piper. Best of the rest for Francie right now.
Looks like next up is going to be Bourbon. Well, Bourbon's actually invalidated, so
Cam.
It's not going to work there. So next up is going to be Cam.
Oh!
Whoa, gets really loose.
Wow.
Whoa, but still kept it together
Wow.
and still managed a 4th place for right now.
If he can get 4th place and 3.5 off the top of the board with that slide that probably cost him about a 10th, then he's probably going to be in the thick of things for a potential top 3 right here. I'm impressed, and obviously Bourbon Boy.
I think if Cam did not have that loose feeling out of the final corner, I think he probably, at most, I think he could have bested Boss Cookie's time.
Titan Stenner's going purple here in the middle sector, and I think it's a genuine purple because it's almost a 44.5 right here, and that would be better than Reese's 2nd sector. Can we see a Ferrari that we did not have in any of our top 3s go pole right here? This is coming down to the wire, coming to the line. We are into the 3.7s.
Ooh.
3.7. That's provisional pole for Stenner. That's the time to beat throughout the first half of the session.
What a lap by Stenner there, and we're not even, and we're just about halfway through Q3. Stenner sets that benchmark high with that, for them to chase down with that 3.755, and looks like Bourbon is going to go again. Now, like I said, he had an invalidation on a couple of his on that lap, so he had that lap and the current one he just crossed invalidated, so he's on it again. Here he goes into Sector 1, just under 16 for Sector 1.
Low on fuel too, by the way. Just thing to mention though. Something to watch out for here with Bourbon Boy. And how about Stenner's lap for a moment? Can't sleep on Stenner, can ya?
No, you can't at all. Stenner showed a pretty strong style in regards to Canada last week. Let's see what he's got in. Let's see. Here's Bourbon 44.2.
That's
Wow.
shaping up for a 3.5 if we get to the final sector in time. This is going to be down to the wire once again for a time. He just has to keep it within track limits. Man, he's flying through the last 2 corners. He slides. He's still going to come out with a potential for provisional pole. We're in the 3.5s. Unbelievable. Oh, my God.
You win with your prediction. Mine's out of the water.
God. Oh, my God.
My prediction just got blown out of the water. My 3.65's not happening.
I'm loving this. He slid at the final corner, similar a little bit to how Cam did. So we could have seen a 3-4 right there. I knew he was at a potential for provisional pole. The only driver we have on the track on an on a lap is Boss Cookie here. First sector, 16-0, 38 thousandths down. And as you see through turn 3 right here, the heavy braking zone, that inside curb, you do not want to hit that yellow part. And same thing with racing side by side out of turn 3. You don't want to hit that yellow part on the outside as well. He doesn't look like he wants to go behind the Red Bull for a little bit of a tow. I don't think we'll see any tows from these last couple laps here, as we saw just a little slide for a moment there from Boss Cookie as he comes to the double left. Hugging that inside curb. Doesn't touch it, though. That's the right choice. 44.6, so he's a 10.5 up. So this is trying to knock himself into the top 3 right here. Maybe keeping himself in the top 5 if he doesn't improve a place at least. Final 2 corners. Track limits are very weary right here for everybody. Oh, he just almost invalidated. Coming to the line, battery low. It's going to be top 3 by 300ths. He gets himself ahead of Reese for the final laps to come now.
Yeah, what a lap it was for Boss Cookie there. As Bourbon, he has decided to retire. He thinks his time is good enough to take that pole for sure. But now it's all up on the others to see if they're willing to do something to challenge for it.
Yeah, the
Chiller is back out on the track right now. And looks like that person is coming back out.
Baby
so some of the drivers are coming back out onto the track. with just under 3 minutes to go. I mean, it's anyone's game here.
It really is. I mean, I know Bourbon Boy's lap was that good, but you know, if anyone could put the lap of their life in, they could do it. I think Cam is still at least in a good shot for a top 5. Francie as well. Lewis Piper, you can't count him out as well. Fake TV really trying to hang on 9th, 10th area with that person, and it'll be the Chiller who's the first one to start a lap here. I really am amazed with that lap. I think it's the right choice to retire because you only really have about maybe half a tenth, a tenth in it. I don't know. I mean, I know you'd want to go for another one, but it's just, you're going to cut it close for time, and some of these guys who are coming out of the pit lane just now are going to cut it close for time. Look at that toe and almost right into the back of Lewis Piper right there from the Chiller. What's the improvement looking like right here? 56,000. So, you know, the guy who scored points every round this season, a guy who has to do everything he can to get inside the top 2 and have a fight at his teammate Scyther and Reese. Well, this is the way to start it out. Improve in qualifying and do what you can to at least, at minimum, stay inside the top 5 and get a good enough lap for a top 3. Here we go, hugging the right side curbs. Doesn't hit the inside curbs. Fair choice right there. The improvement is 3/10 and it's purple for him. This would put him 3rd right now, so we could be seeing a Ferrari front row. However, he'd steal it from his teammate of Stenner.
Looking pretty strong as he's coming out of the final couple of corners. Just has to keep it within the limits. No, he doesn't!
Oh.
And if he didn't,
that would have been front row.
And if he didn't invalidate, that was pole.
No, it was
He was gonna get pole right there, but the Chiller is gonna have to settle for 5th at the moment. Disaster for the final corner. And that final corner, that's what costed Red Fire a shot at Q3.
Yeah. You said it was gonna be pole, but it was just only.
And Cam's invalidated.
Oh my god.
Cam's invalidated out of turn 1.
Reese is 100th up as well. I mean, this is shaping up to be a lot of position changes and a lot of people who wish they just didn't invalidate at the end here. Yeah, that time would have been a 3.551. So he's just, man, I can't believe that.
That was super unfortunate there. Well, anyways, TB's gonna come across and looks like he's gonna get across the line in time. Get his lap in. It's 8th fastest. PSR Franchi has to settle for 5th. Let's see what Reese has. He is going to be the first across the line as the checkered flag is out for Q3. And here we go as Reese comes across the line, and it is 3rd quickest. But now it falls onto...
Lewis Piper.
Well, let's see.
Invalidated.
Lewis Piper's invalidated. That person...
Stenner, is he improving?
That person is yet to go there. What's the...
No. He's improving in the sector,
Stenner's
though.
not improving in Sector 2.
Yeah, in Sector 2 he's improving, but not as much from Sector 1. He's going to have to find all the time to improve to keep 2nd in the last sector. I think the only one who can take it from Stenner for 2nd is Boss Cookie right now, but he's invalidated. Stenner to the line. No improvement.
So it looks like... So it is going to be... And that person has gone to the pits and retired. So Bourbon catches a break and takes pole position.
4 drivers in the 3.8. Or sorry, the 3s, excuse me.
Wow. So Bourbon on pole, Stenner in 2nd, Reese 3rd. And I mean, what's nuts is yeah, I actually figured out that time that Darius had his time been valid, it was actually going to be 2nd place by 12 milliseconds. He would have just missed pole by 12 milliseconds.
Yeah, that has to surely be the heartbreak of the session because 6th place for the Chiller means he's obviously 4 places back than what he would have been, but not only 4 places back from what he would have been, but he would have been starting ahead of Reese, and that would have been perfect position to get some championship points to his name in the sense to where, you know, obviously qualifying does not award championship points. We're aware of that, but he'd be putting himself in good position to do just that is my point. But yeah, Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull. That's the exact way it was last season for qualifying and from the sprint race and from the race itself last season. Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull with this order. Take it away, Titan.
Absolutely. So Bourbon on pole, Stenner second, and Reese third. And Bourbon gets his pole by 2/10. And what's more interesting is PSR Franchi in his Tier 1 debut, 5th place. Cam in his Tier 1 debut, 7th place. So we'll be getting on into the main race itself, and it's going to be quite interesting to say the least. I think if my memory's right, it's 36 laps the distance.
Yep.
For the main race. Is that right?
That is correct, and the strategy is medium to hard, hard to medium, and the drivers have confirmed to us there's no rain at all, so that is a good sign too. Since you speak a strategy, well, since I speak a strategy, since you switched to strategy on the screen right there, soft to hard is possible, but you're rarely going to do it. And the thing is, keep in mind as well, two other things. A pit stop loss around here is 19 to 20 seconds. ERS gain during pit stops, a good whopping 25%, so don't have your battery too low when it comes to entering the pit lane, but you don't want to save it all either. So some things to focus on when it comes to today's race at Austria, whether it be pit stop strategy, pit stop loss, or your ERS, because ERS is a little bit harder to save around this racetrack if you just dump it all down the straights. You don't want to do that. So we'll watch out to see if anyone does that. Hard to soft, soft to hard, medium to hard, hard to medium. That's what we're looking for today in today's race.
Indeed. So just take a look at the grid here. So it's going to be Will and Weiso making up the back row. Zakaria, Tadpole, row 9. Luke, Cryptic, row 8. Grandpa and Spenny making up row 7. Redfire, Minions making up row 6. Lewis Piper, That Person making up row 5. TB and Cam making up row 4. The Chiller and Franchi making up row 3. Boss Cookie, Reese, row 2. Stenner and Bourbon making up the front row. And everyone is switching their strategies up, so we probably will not know identically what everyone's going to be going with. We'll find out as the 5 lights come on to start the Austrian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go. Good reaction from Bourbon. Here comes Stenner trying to get alongside to end the turn 1. Reese thinking about sneaking a shot, just can't seem to get it done. But Stenner leads the way into turn number 1. And
Molly and Weiso.
More cars are filing into position. PSR Franchi battling with the Chiller for the 6th place spot. Hello, we got someone off, and that is TB gone.
Wow. The Chiller's
and
gone.
Darius is out.
He got turned right where the Chiller was. The Chiller was pulling off, I think, to get some illegal overtakes out of the way. It's Reese now down the order.
Yeah, Reese is falling over.
We're having host
and Reese has crashed out too.
We're restarting.
What the heck? Everyone's crashing.
We're restarting. That is why. That makes sense now. I don't know why, but
safety car is off. That's why. Okay.
That makes sense. That's the. You know, it's funny. That's the 3rd event out of the 6 events we've ran in the last, week or so, including this weekend, that has had safety car off. 3 of the last 6. I can't believe that. It's a tough thing to get right, I guess.
Oh, I guess it can't.
Whoever's hosting has to get that reminder, I guess. No, I was going to say, speaking of that start, as you might have saw it. I think the viewers at home definitely saw it. Reese had an amazing start right there. Could have gone through the middle, but Stenner absolutely calculated it by saying, no, you're not going through. We're cutting right in front of you to make sure it's the same order with 1, 2 and entering turn 2. So, yeah. That makes sense as to why they were crashing into turn 3 then as well. And as I saw at the back of the grid, Weiso and Molly, they just cut across one another, and that's what happened on the original start. We'll see if the second start can be any better now. Interesting.
Yeah, that was super unfortunate. But yeah, we are going to be restarting it. So bear with us for a few minutes. We'll get back into this once everything is all set and ready to go.
Hey, we've got 11 viewers. Let's talk about next week's race as well. I just want to mention that because I was mentioning it in F2 and Tier 2. Sorry to cut in there. I want to mention next week in Tier 2 is Italy. I know we've had the cutting in issue. I'll apologize. I'll stop cutting in so much. But Tier 2 is next week at Italy. That's at Monza, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK on the Friday. A champion will be decided, assuming that Owen minions show up. If they don't show up, that'd be a very boring way to decide the championship. Still would be decided at that point. With Imola, F2, that's also 11:15 a.m. Eastern, 4:15 p.m. UK time on the Saturday. And then we go to Britain next week as well if you're looking for more of the action in RPL. Make sure you give us a follow if you are tuning in for the first time or do not have us followed. I know there's a lot of you who do watch who do not have us followed each week to at least have the notifications on and see the races. So we appreciate you, even though we're trying to bear with it on the restarts. We've had quite a few of them the last couple of weeks, but apologies on that and apologies on any hiccups we have. But appreciate you guys who have tuned in for sure, and thank you for the invite there. I was needing one. Very fast reaction there, Titan. I appreciate it. But yeah, this is going to be interesting to see for the Grand Prix now. How do I don't know if you've just had an issue with streaming right there. Oh, there we go. It said you were streaming again, but everyone can hear me now.
It is, and
I got you.
had to get some pictures of it so I can send it to him.
I got you. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so yeah, those of you who did not hear us during that, I was just saying, as Titan was giving the pictures for the starting grid, the thing I was mentioning, it should be interesting to see here. Reese got a flyer of a start, it looked like, on that opening one, but could not do anything about it. It should be interesting on the second start to see if the same applies. As for Stenner and Borbin, let's see if they can hold on to that start like they did the last time. And a couple collisions at the back. I think it was just mainly Molly and Weiso. Little contact with them. Let's see if everyone can keep it a little more cleaner at the back of the field and throughout the field through the second start. And hey, with the safety car on this time too, this shall be interesting to see if any strategies get changed due to the second start now and due to any safety cars that could come out throughout our race. This should be fun. Get another chance at it. Attempt number 2.
Yes, I just sent Darius the grid on where everybody is, so he's gonna get that fixed up. Let's see. Looks like the only one. Let's see. We're just missing a couple people. Let's see. Cam's here. Frenchie's here.
Well, I think we're just missing one now. Everyone's got
Red Fire.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Fire's the only one.
you know what? I'll tell you this right now. I've been in a lot of leagues commentating in the past, and I will say this is probably the quickest I've seen anyone ever get into a attempt number 2 restart. I'll say that. So fair play to the drivers for being very heads up about the restart and being very aware where their invites are at and everything else, making sure things work out here. Yeah, so start number 2, just waiting on Red Fire Tiger. The interesting thing while we're at it is, for those of you who didn't catch the beginning of qualifying, we've had more tune in throughout the event. Scyther leading Reese in the championship by 2 points. Skither, Scyther, same thing. Not here.
Yeah.
Today. So Reese having to capitalize on that for Red Bull, 2 points behind. TB, 13 points behind. Him switching to Alpine is definitely gonna probably take him out of the championship contention. As long as he, unless he has some chaotic races to where he's on the podium every race, then I don't see a way he stays in it. The Chiller also 18 points back. We spoke about him in qualifying, and he's one to watch out for because he had a lap that could have been second fastest right off our pole sitter, would have been ahead of second place man Reese in the championship. He's 18 points back, 16 back from Reese, so a lot of things to look out for in today's race. And the constructors as well. Red Bull lead Ferrari by 31 points for those of you just tuning in.
All right, so we're just still waiting on Red Fire to get in. Apparently his F1 game crashed. When it loaded back in, it then crashed again.
Yeah.
So we we're going to be getting started in about 2 minutes. We'll have our grid up. Everyone will be getting their setups, changing their strats up. Things that's going to get quite interesting, to say the least. Now, I mean, with Scyther not here today, literally this is going to open the door for Reese to take the championship lead after this race is done. But that's if Reese can get it done. I mean, Reese has gotten low points before. He has DNF'd in the past, so you never know what will happen in that sense.
Yeah, I was also going to say, the other thing about it as well is, obviously Redfire is in. Once we launch, and I'll be making a quick trip to the bathroom. But as that said, I was just going to say how Reese, yeah, you mentioned his low finishes. Yeah, I mean, besides his one time that he finished 9th this season, he's not finished worse than 3rd. So the Chiller's going to have to hope for some chaotic race for Reese to have that. But you're right. I mean, I've seen a lot of races where, you know, Reese has had that happen. But I also think Reese is a driver that's capable of keeping his car clean in these kind of situations. So as we ready up now, drivers will have to remember to put in their setups. Going to have to mess with fuel if they got it wrong in the initial attempt. And if they had any setup changes that they wanted to make as well, they'll have to change that and get their strategy correct. Do you want to change it from the first time, or do you want to keep it the same as last time? I will be back in about 30 to 45 seconds. It should be enough to be back by the start of this race.
All right. While he is away at this moment, we will go over quickly on what is going to be happening next week in regards to races. So, Tier 2 Friday, they're going to be taking part at Monza for their penultimate round of the season. F2 will be racing at Imola next week, and then next week for F1 it's going to be home for a lot of these drivers, because our next race is going to be at Silverstone. So that is the races for next week. So that is going to be interesting there.
Friggin' rain outside my house.
Here.
I'm so glad I can still hear you over the rain. I'll tell you that right now. I apologize if I cut in on you there again. Yeah. Here we go.
Second.
Predictions, chat? Predictions? Anyone have anything for us, whether you're a driver or not? I know there's always some drivers who tune into us, so you know, that'd be great to see your predictions for today as well. We shall see. We shall see. Who comes out on top in Austria? What's the podium look like? And how many safety cars, VSCs do we get? We got quite a bit in the F2 race at Jeddah. We got quite a few at the start of the Vegas race in Tier 2. Now it's time for a completely different kind of track. No street circuit today. Or Austria. This should be fun. 36 laps ahead of the drivers. We're just waiting on them to get their setups in. Strategy, which is medium to hard, hard to medium, potentially soft to hard. And we shall find out what happens with the drivers and their strategies, fuels, and everything else that they need to sort out before the start of this race.
All right, so as everything is getting themselves going.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back at it. There we go. Take 2. 5 lights come on to start the Austrian Grand Prix. And lights out, and away we go once again. And looks like it is, well, same thing as last time. Stenner getting it into turn 1. It's just like it was last week. And more cars are getting sent off, and that is, wow, Franchi immediately turn 1 into the penalty club.
Heating up already. Turn 3, heavy braking. Red Bull side by side as well. In front of that.
Tight 3 wide. Oh, boy. Well, that's TB spun around after getting caught up by somebody.
I think Spenny also fell some places too from that, potentially.
TB.
Oh.
Damn. That was very unfortunate, but TB stuck, and he is way back. But
yeah, the Chiller was
a wild ride into turn 3.
Chiller fighting for.
These cars
Sorry, I was gonna say, the Chiller fighting for 4th, 5th area. That's the thing.
Over for position.
You saw 4th fall back right there with Boss Cookie and everyone else. They fell back from the top 3. The top 3 kind of pulled a little gap, but it's been reeled back in as Stenner leads lap 1. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so Stenner leads lap 1 over Reese, Bourbon, Boss Cookie, Cam, the Chiller, that person, Lewis Piper, Cryptic, and Luke in there. And looks like Zakaria is going to be the first one into the pits. I wonder how did Francie get multiple penalties? Get a penalty immediately from turn
my God.
1.
Woo! Turn 3 just got heated right there. I know you're watching the lead, but turn 3 there was almost a collision between about 5 cars.
Oh, contact!
No! Oh my God!
Looks like Reese got tangled up with Stenner,
and
it caused an accordion effect behind, and it screwed over Boss Cookie. He was in 4th, now he's back down in 18th, and Bourbon has damage to the car, I think.
Cam does too. That person with the front wing missing. Oh my goodness! It's just the accordion effect that you're talking about. Turn 4, and now everyone trying to get to the pit lane safely without getting run over. Luckily, none of those guys do, but that is the end, at least so far, to the 4 races of these guys and potentially more.
Oh my God. The Chiller, Cam, Bourbon, that person, Will, Boss Cookie, and Bourbon. Wait, I said Bourbon already. 6 cars in the pits.
L74G making an overtake. You saw the end of that as well. Here's Weiso fighting it back. That's what this has done to the running order. Francie up the order as well with that said minions to the top 5. 3 different teams now in the top 3. That's what that's done to this running order. As you can see, L74G in the background right there potentially making the move on the outside of Weiso, now under fire from Red Fire, ironically. And this train has absolutely abolished from the top 5 and now has been made a train from 5th to 12th.
My God, what a start of these 2 laps. I mean, literally lap 1, we saw TB get tangled up with a couple people, and then literally a big mess in turn 4. That was just a wild mess and a half. I thought Red Fire was going to sneak a peek on Luke to get himself into the 8th place spot, but just can't seem to do it at the moment. Meanwhile, Francie looking for a shot as he goes down the inside and clears minions to get himself into 5th place. Looks like Gerard has gone for a spin out of turn 1.
There was contact with Spenny right there out of turn 1. As you see Red Fire and L74G trade spots right there out of turn 3. The contact between them now means that half the grid has had issues in the opening 3 to 4 laps. That right there is quite the Austrian Grand Prix we were talking about when it came to chaos. However, it's now put the Chiller outside the points, who is crucially going to need it again today to keep up that point streak.
Indeed, and just take a look at the position change because of all this action that's happened. Cryptic and Weiso shared the marker as the best position uppers in that section. They gained 12 spots in these few laps. Bourbon and Boss Cookie are currently the biggest losers with 13 spots and 15 spots lost. It looks like Tadpole is disconnected. I'm going to attempt to get him in. I'm going to attempt to get him back.
Well, while you're doing
Luke
that...
is currently racing, so I don't think he'll be able to get him.
Yeah, I was going to say, while you're doing that...
grab him now.
I'll keep you live radio action, at least, of the top 2 here. Stenner still within DRS, 4/10 that gap. And you can see as Borden Boy took the fastest lap. Now Red Bull's trying to do their favors, this time for the lead. I cannot believe the fact that it was 10 drivers who had issues at the end of the first 4 laps, whereas 10 drivers didn't either. You could see the slide from Stenner trying to hang on to that race car. We spoke about turn 7, turn 8 being an area where spins could happen. He was lucky to save himself right there as the Alpines go for a swap for 12th and 13th.
I'll just take it, and speaking about with that, we do have from 14th to 20th, they have pitted for different tires, but just taking a look at everybody that's here on it, that are still currently going on the tires that they have started on. Spenny, TB, Red Fire, Lewis Piper, and Stenner are on the hard compound tire. Wiseau going crazy with the soft tires to start, and everyone else is on the medium tires. And that's the 13 drivers that have not stopped and had issues happen. Well, I'm just going a little bit back as Lewis Piper, well, actually, just going slightly further back, Minions passes Francie to get it back his 5th place. Lewis Piper was trying to put pressure on Cryptic to go for 3rd, and Stenner is still keeping tabs on Reese to try to get the lead back.
You spoke about Francie's 3-second penalty. He got it at turn 1 in the opening lap, so either he cut the corner by quite a bit, or he ended up cutting corners slightly and getting 3 warnings and 1 for it, which we've seen happen on the previous games. I guess it comes over to this game with that. And yeah, I think I saw the same thing you saw right there too.
Yeah, Minion's getting a little bit loose out of the final corner on the curbing, just keeps it together, and he still maintains that 5th spot. So, I mean, literally, if I'm looking at it right, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, 8 cars, 8 different constructors inherit the top 10. The only 2 teams with both cars in the top 10 right now is McLaren and AlphaTauri.
That's team changes. That's basically the same as qualifying if you think about it. So we're
yeah,
on
pretty
for
much.
quite the race here.
Currently on board with Wiseau as he's trying to put that pressure onto Red Fire. Just a little bit further back, TB overtakes Gerard to get into 11th. And that
place.
person fighting Zakaria way back in 17th.
How about that? You know what? Zakaria is going to give him the pinch right here. Inside lines, going to be that person again. He picks up a penalty, trying to give him the space. And it allows Boss Cookie to overtake on the outside. You spoke about 8 different teams in the top 10. Well, speaking of that, how about the battle just not to finish last in the Constructors? Alfa Romeo, 8th, 19 points. 9th, Williams, 16 points on the board, and Haas with 9 points on the board there for 10th place. So a lot of teams could take some points today as there's Francie on Minions for 5th place, gets the move done. His lead still is at stake, and the podium now is at stake for 3rd place. Lewis Piper, how about him? We've been speaking about him quite a bit recently. For the last couple of races here and to start the season, couple 4th place finishes, 3 top 5s. This could be the day, but I don't want to jinx him yet.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to jinx that, but Lewis Piper looking to get back onto some form. Last season, Lewis Piper hung out in the top 3 pretty much for most of the race in Monza, then took advantage of a last-second incident between Reese and TB. That gave him the win, as Luke just got himself into the penalty club. By looks of it, from the map, that was in turn 9, I believe. That's where Luke got his penalty.
A very vulnerable
now Tadpole in it.
That's very vulnerable.
Out the final corner.
Vulnerable place to have it happen. For the lead, we've got 2 tenths now being separated with Stenner and Reese. And the thing that you mentioned about penalties that I just want to intervene with before we see another overtake is the fact that, obviously, 5th place, an overtake right there. That's shoving off the road. That got a little tough. Minions, though, goes ahead. Spenny with a penalty. And speaking of penalties, 5 drivers have one, and since 5 drivers do have one, half the drivers at the end of the race who are still left at the end of the race last season had a penalty. So it's half and half last season as there was contact there for 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yeah, Minions and Francie are just getting their arms out and just basic. These two are basically in RPL Tier 1. They're basically having a boxing fight for this 5th place spot. They've been at it pretty much since the start of this race. And currently, Minions and Francie are just going blow for blow, attack after attack, defense after defense.
There we go.
And here we go again.
2 AlphaTauris.
Looks like Francie just not there enough and decided to back off and wait. And while we were catching that, Reese battling center.
Yeah, the 2 different AlphaTauris there. We
got
got
lead.
Caught up by them being on different strategies. Here we go, switchback.
Ooh, bit of a switchback there, and little touch of the wheels
Behind that, they're
But
3
they
wide.
still keep it together, bumping again. But
Two battles
Stenner
here.
not fazed by the bumps from Reese, and he gets himself into the lead. We have a new leader in this Austrian Grand Prix. Stenner inherits the lead from Reese.
Don't count Stenner out. I apologize for cutting in there, but 5th place, 3rd place, you saw Lewis Piper taking back that podium spot. Minions had a red fire. Francie Weisso, as mentioned, we got distracted by those AlphaTauris battling in the DRS train. Obviously not together, or well, with each other, but battling other drivers in the DRS train, being on different strategies. Weisso going for the boulder one, the only one who started on softs, and Minions holding on with the mediums, and here we go for the lead once again. Reese got it with yellow flags out. That might have been the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, Reese got by in that second main straight in DRS zone number 1. The yellow flag was for Boss Cookie going off in turn 5. So Boss Cookie not having a good day in that Mercedes, but Reese does retake the lead back, and looks like Red Fire is battling Minions for 5th.
He absolutely
so it's complete switch around.
At turn 4 is Boss Cookie. That's a retirement in the pit lane, but Red Fire was about 10th and a half back. I didn't think he was going to do so late in the brakes. Little contact, but I think fair for the most part with those two, as I think Minions wants to fight this back. Just can't get close enough yet, as it's 4 cars under a blanket here for 5th place.
Indeed. I almost forgot that Weisso is now inserting himself into the hunt as well.
His teammates in a battle too.
I mean, literally with these guys brawling here, the Red Fire, Minions, Franchi, with those guys battling all the time. I mean, the battling is quite fun, but here's the thing. It actually makes it more breathing room for the top 4, especially with Lewis Piper and Stenner, who is eyeing a shot to go for another overtake on Reese, but just wasn't close enough to make it happen. And Lewis Piper, by the way, getting himself some comfort with Cryptic as well. Because literally, Lewis Piper, his teammate Red Fire, that little pack for 5th is almost 10 seconds behind Cryptic right now.
Cadpole getting ahead of L74G for a point spot, and Fake TB and Grandpa going at it again. They just went side by side for half a lap. We missed part of that as we were focusing on positions that were higher up than them, but this midfield still always loves to give us a fight. Here's Grandpa once again inside line, the same place. Last time by they touch. He does a little booty scooty with Grandpa to Fake TV there for 12th place. TB just got the boot.
Despite that little touch, Gerard does get past TB into the 12th place spot. I mean, it was a little rough between the two, but no harm, not much harm, not much foul. Now TB unfortunately loses a place to Gerard, and looks like Weisso has come off of the sauce. He's in the pits as Cryptic retakes the 3rd place spot from Lewis Piper.
Yeah, that is exactly where his tires were going to start wearing off around this time. It's lap 13 now, so obviously not an unexpected pit stop, as we see behind 5th place. It gets close once again, but Minions gets the upper edge on Red Fire Tiger. Francie also wants his shot too, being right behind the McLaren. In the slipstream, it's close once again between these two. Francie trying to fight back at it. Is he going to go for a late dive? No. He thinks better of it.
Looks like Francie is deciding to hold off from right now to see if he's see if he wants to give it another go later on. Yeah, lap 13 to 36. I'd say probably pretty soon, within the next few laps. Probably I'm gonna say between lap 17 to probably between lap 15 to 18, we'll probably see some of the medium tire guys come into the pits.
And since we are talking about guys coming into the pits, we have obviously DeChiller and Bourbon Boy running 10th and 11th, who already they're going for a different kind of strategy. Also, with that said, DeChiller got by Fake TB right there. You can see Grandpa peeling off into the pit lane. Weisso gets Spenny right before the final corner as well. We've had multiple battles around the racetrack. This has definitely been one of the more hyped up races for RPL, with a lot of overtakes, a lot of action. And the action right now that's closest on track is there's a car going off in the background at turn 1. It was 13th place right there, Zakaria picking up a penalty. It's Cam and Zakaria who trade spots. I think you're going to have to switch to that right there. Zakaria on the inside line at turn 3, pinching out Cam, giving him the squeeze right there, not allowing for a whole lot of room but does it just within the guidelines, as Cam now wanting to make the move. That person thinks of it first. Down the inside line for turn 4. He's going to fight this back. However, he's just too far back. And as you mentioned with the strategy, yep, this is exactly around the time where they're going to want to pit. The time where you can go the farthest with these tires. For mediums, it's probably around anywhere from 19 to 23, and then the hards for 22 to 27 laps. So if anyone's extending it, that's how long you'll see it extend. As we should be seeing pit stops very soon here from the medium runners.
Indeed. So by the looks of it, if everything plays out accordingly, we'll take Reese for example in center. Once they come into the pits to get their stop, when they come out, they're gonna come out right around where Luke is. And if they don't get ahead of Luke, they'll actually be ahead of the Chiller. So with Reese and Stenner, if they pitted right now, as Cam's trying to go for a shot against Spenny, but yeah, Reese and Stenner pit now, they'll come out within the top 10.
You saw that squeeze to the grass. I know we're talking about strategy, but
wow!
Cam absolutely sent it on Spenny right there. Spenny went into the gravel, and I don't know if he overshot it or thought he didn't like the way he was being raced, but that
it was a combination of both. Cam overshot his braking zone, but Spenny got loose on the curb in the braking zone and nearly spun out in front of not only Cam but also that person. That's what happened. So that person only getting a couple spots because of the mistakes. So, and that's unfortunate with Spenny, but I mean, Spenny lost control in the braking zone of turn 4, and Cam overshot his braking zone, and I think they wound up touching just a little bit, and it resulted in Spenny going off into the gravel.
So this is interesting though, because we speak of strategy, the two leaders, or I should say the two out front, Reese and Stenner, both on different strategies, one on mediums, one on hards. The ERS game between these two is very interesting because I mentioned you saved 25% there in the pit lane. Reese on 65, 70-ish, where a Stenner on 55 right here. So a little bit of a gappage between the ERS right here as it's closer once again for the lead with DRS enabled right here on lap 17. We're almost halfway, and we're almost going to see an overtake right here. Here we go, down the inside. He's going to go late on the brakes.
Here we go.
Reese protecting the left side. Stenner pulls to the right. He has DRS. He has what he needs. He's using a bit of battery too with it. He's got less battery than Reese, but gets the move done in a turn 4. How about that?
Very nice overtake attack by Stenner there to get the lead back into turn 3. Reese tried his best to defend it before he got into turn 4, but Stenner held his ground and fully overtook it. And while we were just catching that, Cryptic out of turn 1 got himself into the penalty club. So that means right now, Lewis Piper is looking for a podium because of that penalty, and Reese is heading into the pits.
That got close between the two leaders, and while you mentioned that, Minions re-overtook Redfire Tiger, and also that now means 8 of the 19 remaining drivers, almost half, have a penalty.
Yeah, Cryptic, Francie, Luke, that person, Zakaria, and Tadpole all have 3-second penalties as Francie is into the pits as well. Spenny has 6 seconds of penalties from the track limits. Let's see where Reese is gonna come out.
Right
Looks
in
like
front of
he's
his
gonna
teammate.
come out in that pile.
Yeah.
With his teammate, Redfire and Minions.
That's interesting. That's interesting where that happens. And Lewis Piper back by Cryptic.
Yeah, Lewis Piper and Cryptic have been just like with Minions, Francie, and Redfire. They've been going blow for blow all pretty much for a lot of laps on this race as Reese got clear Redfire to get in the 5th. Now he's got Minions ahead. Now Minions is not going to put up much of a fight. He'll let Reese by when able to. So Reese will get himself back in the 4th. And Bourbon will probably get himself into 5th place.
Now,
Bourbon, he is on the medium tires. He pitted on like the 2nd lap. Now my question is Bourbon gonna attempt to go the rest of the race on that set of mediums, or is he gonna be stuck having to do a 2-stopper?
Well, here's the thing. The mediums get to about 70% once they're reaching 22 laps on them. And why I said the chiller for a moment, guys, was the chiller just absolutely switched back else. Unfortunately, we missed that. We apologize for missing any action. There's been so much action on the racetrack today. And you can see Weisso now trying to get that bridge in his L74G. But as we speak of that, yeah, 22 laps in the mediums, that's when they reach 70%. So we'll see Bourbon Boy at 70% soon. Well, the interesting thing is if he does pit again, which assuming he will, I would absolutely assume he does. We could
Bourbon
see...
is on 16 lap old mediums. Just getting on this as that person and Cam are battling for the 13th place position. Cam gets ahead on the outside, and Stenner is in the pits. We have a incident somewhere in sector 2.
It was Spenny at the start of sector 2, I believe.
See who.
It was Spenny. Start of sector 2.
Oh, it was Spenny?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he just had a little moment, a little slide. We have some people pitting, and yeah, Bourbon Boy now pitting.
Bourbon's back in the pits, actually.
He's going to go mediums then if he's pitting this early. No way he goes softs, because once you reach 17 laps in those softs, you're at 73%, and he's going on the hards. So he must have... I think he started the race on mediums if he's switching to the hards, which would make sense. But if he didn't, then that's worrying to me. As the net leaders come close again.
Stenner is back out for the mediums. He's in 3rd place right now, 3 seconds behind Reese. Now Reese is on the harder compound, while Stenner's on the softer. So, I mean, we could have another fight on our hands within the next number of laps. Meanwhile, the Chiller trying to battle with Weisso for the 6th place spot. Now, the Chiller is trying to get himself back into a higher placement into the points after that incident on lap 1. Weisso still holding his ground and stays ahead into the 6th place spot. Let me just take a look at the tires here. Yeah, Weisso on 7 lap old mediums, while the Chiller is on 17 lap old mediums.
Yeah, I mean,
Red Fire is in.
Strategy's been a big thing in this race without a doubt. As you see, that's fake TB as well pitting too. Almost sped. Had to lock up the brakes to not speed. But yeah, the Chiller Weisso the Chiller. You know, that battle happening. The thing I was going to mention there for a moment was the fact that, you know, we keep talking about incidents the last couple of weeks, whether it's tier 2, F2, and it was briefly mentioned with tier 1, briefly, because the DNF rate had been a little bit of a question. It was a little bit of a question mark. It was going up a little bit, and it's got an average...
Chiller down the inside!
Hold on.
Chiller going on the inside against Weisso into turn 4, and he just can't fully execute it on the exit. Weisso fends him off.
Yeah, as I was saying about the DNF rate, the DNFs were going up. The incidents per rate for tier 1 were going up a little bit. I mean, we've seen a little bit of RG-bargy. It's been nothing bad, but a race that's had no safety cars yet, no VSCs yet, that's how last season was too. And that's, to me, as Cryptic pits for soft, that to me shows that we're heading in the right direction in a week that kind of saw incidents go up for F2. Incidents go down a little bit with some inconsistencies for tier 2. So we're having a step in the right direction. I know penalties will show you different on, you know, incidents with your own car. As for incidents penalized, yeah, tier 1's done great with that this season so far compared to other tiers. Slightly up, just a little in the last couple races, but it seems like it's gone better. The last couple there's minions on Bourbon Boy as Bourbon ran off the track. With that said, DNF percentage 4.5. One driver out of this race so far. Fair play. And the last time we had last time we only had one DNF in RPL tier 1. I have to go all the way back to round number 1. There you have it. Little switch back there.
So Australia was the last
P8.
time we had that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Switch back there for P8 allows Bourbon Boy to get back past. So, you know, everything is kind of settled down now. Not totally, but for the most part.
Yeah, indeed, quite a lot has changed, and looks like Darius is back in to get a second stop done. So he was in the 6th place spot at that moment. Now Reese has the lead back. Stenner is currently in 2nd place. Loose Piper is in 3rd. Just like it was before, they wound up going for the pits. Cryptic, who pitted a lap and a half ago, he is in the 4th place spot, almost 5 seconds back from Lewis Piper right now. But Cryptic has that 3-second penalty. I mean, if Weisso can close the gap by like 1.2 seconds, could Weisso possibly try to steal 4th place from Cryptic? I mean, currently so far, I mean, Weisso in the AlphaTauri, he's been showing really good. He's been showing really good pace so far in that AlphaTauri. Another person that's also been doing pretty good is PSR Francie. Despite that 3-second penalty, he is sitting in 6th in his debut. He's not doing too bad.
Yeah, and a little battle here, 13th on back. I know you're just missing it as Weisso does go to the pit lane, by the way, as we speak of things. The thing about Cryptic, I was going to say, is no, that's not going to happen because the fact that, in all honesty, look at the tires Cryptic's on, softs. Those tires likely won't get a puncture as we got a battle for the lead. Once again, Stenner coming for it once again. Outside line with the help of DRS, gets through, muscles him on the braking zone. And that is the lead, changing hands once again as they were on different strategies, as we previously mentioned. And speaking of different strategies, Cryptic catching there a second on Lewis Piper. So with that penalty, Cryptic said to himself, I need to try something different in order to potentially get this podium, and it might work out. But his tires wearing off toward the end of the race will be the concern, being in that penalty box for 3rd and 4th place.
Indeed. So, I mean, Weisso, he has come out from the pits. He is in the 12th place position. Darius right now in the 11th place position. Gerard.
I know you're not catching it, but it's just argy-bargy with Zakaria and Cam. I'm hoping this doesn't get ugly. However, Zakaria has the inside line here, and he's around.
Oh, there he goes.
Yep. Spoke a little too soon. They were argy-bargy in turn 3, and then led it to turn 4. And then it just resulted into a spin as Minions now picks up a penalty. How about the penalties right here? That's 9 different drivers with penalties in this race.
Yeah, and Bourbon, by the way, just got around Francie on the outside in the braking zone to turn 3. He takes the 5th place spot from Francie. Now, Francie is still in the 6th place spot, but courtesy of Minions having that 3-second penalty right behind him, Francie is still looking to keep that 6th place spot, but one person that he's got to watch out for is Red Fire. Red Fire, 3.1 seconds, well, now closing to under 3 seconds behind Minions. So Red Fire right now is going to be promoted up to 7th place.
Yep. Cam gets ahead of Fake TB, getting the upper edge on him as well.
Oh, and down the inside.
The lead.
Down the inside, turn 3. Wow. Between Reese and Stenner, I think there was contact between the two.
Yes, it was. It was because Stenner right there got on the curb, and I think Reese is saying, thank you. I don't think you want to do it that way because I would have got you penalized right there. Flapping the rear wing as he went by, Reese did, because Stenner clipped that yellow curb and went straight into him, losing it off the curb. So just a driver mistake there, and I was just about to cut in as well and say, AlphaTauri, we spoke about Weisso. How about good job from both their drivers? They've had a DNF with at least one car in 3 of the last 4 races, keeping it clean so far today.
Indeed, yeah. And one of them is in the points, that being Minions. A little bit further back, just catching on my screen, Cam and Luke battling it out.
Goodness.
For the 13th place spot. It looks like Cam got the better advantage of it. TB is looking to get himself involved.
The lead again.
Stenner again gets past Reese. Reese, what happened to Reese?
Yeah, I think he either lost it at turn 1 and must have lost it bad enough to where he's 7/10 back, but that's a spin from the Haas. That is Grandpa. Gonna lose a place potentially.
Second time goes around. He went around earlier in the race. Now, he unfortunately was in the 12th place spot. Loses in turn 8, but manages to stay, but lost a few positions there as Minions battling Francie for the 6th place spot. Oh man, this is getting wild here to say the least.
Grandpa, he's just got some sort of issue with that car because at the last corner he just did a little Owen, and he's going to do it again at turn 1 and pick up a penalty at the expense of that. I know you didn't catch that right there, Titan, and I'm probably better you didn't with it being your driver, but man, 12th on back have had quite the battle. They've had quite the incident when it's come to single car spins. I mean, a race outside the points has never been this chaotic, I'll tell you that right now. So these guys putting on a show, fair play to them. Got the Williams, got the Haas in it, got fake TB. Trying to, I guess I could really say, hold on to fourth in the championship for the rest of the season with that move to Alpine. I hate to say that, and Cam in his debut race as well didn't really have the best start. So you know what, I am really giving credit to these drivers in this sense, because you know what, the races we've seen this weekend, F2 was, you know, besides I'd say one or two drivers, it was definitely questionable, as Grandpa's probably got rear wing damage if he's entering the pit lane now or just switching tires here. With that said, yeah, one DNF so far, more cleaner racing, less incidents.
Here it is. I didn't see it earlier. I just checked the chat. I just checked the driver chat. The reason for Cookie's DNF was because after he hit the top 3 when they had that spin on lap 2, on lap 2 in turn 4, Cam hit him just enough that Boss Cookie got rear wing damage. And that made his car basically undrivable, hence why he had the DNF.
And it was that big of a hit, too, that it absolutely ripped Cam's front wing off. That's why he's back there in the first place. He's a very fast driver from what we see so far in RPL, as Molly ahead of Zakaria. All that happened as well. Cryptic's got himself in a DRS for third place on those soft tires. So, a strategy that could work out here for Cryptic, but not gaining at the pace that we thought he could. So very interesting stuff here.
If Cryptic gets past Lewis Piper, he's got to pull, I believe, a 3-second gap over Lewis Piper to keep that third place. And, I mean, right now, even if he doesn't get past, Cryptic is going to keep fourth place right now, so that's not bad points for Mercedes to get at least one car in the top 5.
And if things stand as well right now too, that would also mean that we have our 6th different team on the podium. McLaren, who is the only team to finish 4th so far this season out of the teams who've not finished on the podium this season. They finished 4th twice. What a story it would be of Lewis Piper to get a podium today. I said I don't want to jinx him at the beginning. I don't think I'm jinxing him just yet, because you know what? He's had 2 4th place finishes, 3 top 5s. He's a storybook driver in the making. When this patch comes for McLaren to be up there, more on the pace, he's going to do just that. He is absolutely smashing it. As you see, Cryptic gets by, easy overtake, no contact, very simple. He's going to try to pull a 3-second gap right now, but it's a matter of can he do it with the tires of his that are wearing penalties also being
Tiller just got himself into the penalty club. We're on board with him as he attacks Tadpole on the outside and gets himself into 9th place, which is actually what DeChiller needs, because Tadpole has penalties as well. So currently at the moment, 3 for each of those. It was good for DeChiller to get there, because now he'll keep himself into the points, because Wiseau doesn't have any penalties. He's currently in 11th right now, and he's going to be promoted up into 9th place right now. Meanwhile, Reese is on Stenner again. These two have been warring pretty much since the start of this race.
Yeah, he backed off.
I mean, Reese is looking, I believe. Let me just trying to look at.
Look at my
winners total.
That got closer.
Reese is chasing Tier 1 win number 8, and Stenner is looking for his first.
Yeah, a little bit of weaving and bobbing right there between both the leaders right there. That got close, and as you were mentioning, and as I apologize for cutting in there, at turn 1, Reese had the chance to make the move, and as I said before qualifying, I said turn 1's not a place you want to overtake. Well, I think Reese just proved why, because if you went side by side there, you're crashing both of you, and they have a comfortable gap to where they can fight it out the last 6 laps. Yellow flags, that's for the Haas of Grandpa, who goes a lap down.
Yeah, Gerard has been a lap down for a little while. Meanwhile, the leaders, they are catching currently the 17th place car of Spenny. Zakaria and Gerard are the only 2 cars 1 lap down right now. And with just under 5 to go, Spenny could possibly be knocked out as Reese trying to look on it from the outside. Stenner defends himself into the middle, and and keeps him back into turn 3. And it looks like Reese didn't have that good of an exit out of turn 3, and is not going to be close enough to go for an attack into turn number 4. But Reese is just playing it patient, waiting for Stenner to make a mistake, and he will capitalize and get it as Lucas just got himself back into the penalty box.
Yeah, I'm absolutely surprised that Stenner was able to hold on to the exit of turn 3 because he slid the wheels into turn 3. I guess it gave him better traction, and we have our second DNF for this race. With Grandpa retiring in the pit lane, he's going a lap down, not the race he would have wanted, so more than one DNF to this race. We're not going to tie the record for least DNFs this season, just like we had in the opening round of Australia, but still an improvement from the Tier 1 guys, as Zakaria takes fastest lap right there on the soft tires. Another thing to mention as well, that'll be someone different than Red Bull taking the fastest lap as he picks up a penalty. Someone different than Red Bull taking a fastest lap within the last 3 races. It's been all Red Bull drivers taking the last 3 races as that got close into turn 3 in the braking zone once again. And by the way,
but you know what's even more crazy? Zakaria is stealing the fastest lap of the race. He's in 18th. He's not gonna like what's gonna happen after the race because Zakaria stole the fastest lap from his boss. Cryptic had the fastest lap prior to that, and I don't think Cryptic's gonna be happy to know that his Aston Martin in 18th stole his fastest lap.
Yeah, Lewis Piper
just took Cryptic's third place back.
Those soft tires are wearing off as Minions and Francie also were trading spots for a moment there before that. As we're coming here to now 3 laps to go for this race. I think we've seen probably the best race of the season, as that's Zakaria out in the pit lane. He is absolutely set. I stole fastest lap. I did the wrong thing. I don't want to do it anymore. And you saw KTB and Kim switch spots in the live feed as well, as the lead is close once again. Here we go. It was Reese thinking of a move at turn 3. Couldn't do it right there. And yeah, as I was going to cut in there quickly, I think we've seen the best race of the season so far.
Reese was thinking of sneaking a move on Stenner to go for it, but he snuck a peek, looking to see if he wanted to, but decided not to go for it. I'd say probably in the next lap or on the final lap, Reese is going to go for a bonsai shot in turn 3 to try to go and steal the lead. But if he doesn't do it in turn 3, it's going to be turn 4. So I'm going to say there's going to be a clash between Stenner and Reese either on this coming lap or on the final lap of this race.
Well, Titan, this is perfect for Reese. I've just looked at the battery. Look at their battery. 38% from Stenner, 85 from Reese, and he's using that battery just right now. That is the difference. Nearly 50% on that battery difference. As you can see, third place, Cryptic's tires are absolutely wearing, but somehow is able to keep third place as well. While that's happening, the battle for the lead is more important right now. Lewis Piper first podium. Stenner trying for his first win. We've got a lot of firsts about to happen, as there's yellow flags. That could affect the race for the win if these guys catch them, but doesn't look like it just yet, as Stenner pulling that gap. And Reese, you could just see, not using that battery. Stenner isn't either, and he's just waiting.
I think Reese is saving up that battery. He's just going to unleash it all on the final lap. That's his plan. He's going to wait until the final lap to unleash it all. So, but the question is even though Stenner has 50% less battery, is Stenner going to try his best to try to keep Reese behind enough?
And Reese just used it at turn 8 right there, which was very weird. Lap car in front, that is Molly. And speaking of the race for the lead, it's getting close once again. 3/10, here's that battery being dumped, and they've got lap traffic, which could get Stenner and DRS. Here we go.
Stenner went for a block, I think. I don't know if Reese snuck for a shot, but here we go. Reese deploying the battery. Stenner on the defense. Where is Reese going to go? Here we go, down the inside. Ooh, little ride on the curb on the inside, but Reese does get it back. Deploys the DRS again. And Stenner trying to keep in tow to see if he can go for a shot. Here he goes down the inside. Slingshot. Oh,
wow.
That was a bit of a whack, and Stenner reclaimed the lead. But oh boy, that was a bit of a crazy shot there.
That was from 2/10 back. That was way too far back from Stenner right there. Reese also had the DRS right there down that straight, so that was absolutely a desperate move from Stenner to try to get this first win.
Absolutely, but I know, but knowing Red Bull, they're probably going to say, oh, he made a reckless dive bomb. That gets us the win. Stenner crosses the line to finish in first. Reese will claim second, and Lewis Piper, we haven't talked much with him lately, but here we go. He gets third place. Bourbon will take fourth from Cryptic. Cryptic will be in fifth. Lewis Piper, I'm just going to say it. Lewis Piper, good shot for driver today, in my opinion there. Minions, Here he comes across the line. He is going to finish in sixth. The Chiller will be seven. Here comes PSR Franchi to get into cross the line in eighth, but we'll lose it to
13th is a battle right here, Titan.
Redfire, Wiso.
This is close.
Red Tadpole 2.
Cam and that person, look at this! To the line, photo finish. It's going to be that person ahead.
Woo! Wow.
But Cam gets it on penalties. At the end there.
With the difference, it was basically about 600th.
Wow. Yeah.
That's close.
Fair play to Lewis Piper, though. You know what? I know Bourbon got Cryptic there on penalties and stuff at the end. That was interesting to see there. But Lewis Piper finally gets the result that we've been waiting for right here, as there's cars crashed at the line, as you couldn't see right there, as L74G crossing the line. Lewis Piper finally gets the result that he has been showing for a while, He's been running up in that top 5. He's got a couple of results up there in the season as well, but McLaren get their first Tier 1 podium of the season, coming at the expense of Lewis Piper, and he was able to keep Cryptic within DRS, whether it was him in front or him behind, and did just that for the first podium of his. Fair play, fair play, fair play. Congrats. He deserves it. Driver of the day for me.
Indeed. So yeah, there's your podium. Stenner is the winner unofficially. Reese is second. Lewis Piper for third. But yeah, McLaren getting their first podium of the season. Very good work for that driver of Lewis Piper getting it done. And there it is. So let's get our results here with the penalties in place. Bada bing.
By the way,
So I'm just getting this stuff for Owen to make sure that happens. There we go. All right, so unofficially, Stenner is your winner. Reese is in second. Lewis Piper in third. Bourbon is 4. Cryptic 5. Minion 6. The Chiller 7. Redfire in 8th. Wiso 9. And Tadpole in the 10th place spot. That wraps up all the points there. For the rest of the field, it is PSR Franchi in 11th. TB 12. Cam 13th. That person in 14th. Luke's 15th. And then the lap down cars, Spenny, Will, those are the lap down cars. And then the DNFs of Zakaria, Gerard, and Boss Cookie.
Lewis Piper has just broke a record for the season in Tier 1 with getting a podium from the lowest spot on the grid. No one previously had a podium from lower than 7th on the grid. Lewis Piper did just that from 10th. So yes, driver of the day for me, absolutely. And he did that in a McLaren. It's not like he did it in a Red Bull, Ferrari, or Mercedes. He did that in a McLaren. Fair play to him. Deserving driver of the day for me. Who would you give driver of the day to?
I'm gonna safely say it's gonna be Lewis Piper. He played nice and calm. Took advantage of mistakes made by some of the guys up front early on. Battled hard against Cryptic for most of the race and kept that P3. But I say fair shot for Lewis Piper. He is driver of the day in my opinion.
Also, I have a question for you as well before we end off the stream. I want to mention this. The move on the last lap with Stenner and Reese.
Yup.
The thing about that, fair or foul? Does it deserve a penalty? It was 2.5 tenths back. We saw a move. I saw a move at least that was made between an AlphaTauri and a McLaren. I believe it was Minions and Red Fire Tiger, I believe, or Weiso, either one. Can't remember. But it was earlier in the race. It turned 3, a 10.5 back. It was a late dive, but it was fair. This one was 2.5 tenths back, a little bit farther back from Stenner on Reese. Was it fair? Was it foul? Should it get penalized? Should it not? That's my question for you, and I will answer after you give your thoughts.
So, sorry, I kind of blanked. Could you repeat that again?
I said the Stenner move at turn 4 was from 2.5 tenths back. We saw a move with an AlphaTauri and a McLaren, a tenth and a half back, but that was a little bit earlier and a little bit closer of a move. Was the move with Stenner on Reese fair or foul? Should it be penalized? Should it not be penalized? I want your thoughts on that before we end off.
Well, given a shot where Stenner went, he went for a shot. He didn't have DRS. He went for the shot. It was very, very late. There was contact, and Reese wound up getting into a half slide. So, given everything from, and I wound up catching it. We wound up getting it on the screen. Even though I'm co-TP of Ferrari, and Stenner is my driver, I will say with brutal honesty, I think it was a bit of a foul. I think it was a bit of a foul move on Stenner. So I mean, if he gets penalized for it, it could be possible. I think maybe that move was just a little too ambitious, and it wound up causing a little bit of harm.
Yeah, I can agree with you. I hate to see it that way for the race victory. I not only that way in the sense to where there was contact like that costed the other of trying to overtake each other, like we saw with both drivers trying to overtake one another, but it was just a move out of desperation. And I really wanted to see Stenner, and some bias for me, yes, I know. So I really wanted to see Stenner win that first race cleanly or cleaner. I would hate to be a steward who intervenes in that, because it absolutely sucks in the sense where you're taking away a win from somebody like that. But it was a move out of desperation. It was from 2.5 tenths back. He didn't have DRS, and Reese had already committed to the corner. I know people will say it's a 3-second, but with how strict the penalties have been recently, I'd go for saying a 5-second would be fair and reasonable as well, because Reese being committed to the corner like that, he has no other choice but to either turn out and avoid him or make contact. And the contact ended up making him go into a half spin. And all things considered too, he's not going to lose the podium from it or go down to third. He would only go to second from it. And I hate to see, like I said, I hate to see penalties kind of intervene in wins right here. It's ironic because the corner before that in 2019 in real life, it was contact with Leclerc and Verstappen that to some extent it was similar, but not exactly the same, which is why that was more of a racing incident than this one, which is why a 3 or 5 second to that incident would be fair. We'll let you know next week as well with tier two, by the time of tier 2 and tier 1 if that incident was penalized or not. I really hate to say it was a foul move, but it was a foul move to me, and I just wish he just did it a little bit cleaner. But you know what? We can't ignore, beside the fact of that move that Stenner put on, I'd say his best race in RPL this season. Yet in RPL, you would maybe know the answer, but this season at least he's put on his best race without a doubt to me, regardless of that move.
Now bear in mind also that the incident earlier when we mentioned about when we saw with turn 4 lap 2, Stenner has a clip of it, but apparently Reese was the attacker, went down on the inside. His front wing was by his rear wheel, and that's why they wanted to contact, and Stenner getting spun out and a lot of cars getting damaged.
Right.
So if it is confirmed to be true, Reese could also face a penalty for causing a collision of Stenner for not being enough alongside at that moment, which resulted in multiple cars getting damaged from that.
So I'm thinking this. If maybe because the multiple cars getting damaged, it could lead to a 10. I don't know. But let's say both incidents are a 5 because based on the incident itself, not the result, in a sense, both could realistically be a 5 or should be a 5. And if it is, well, if I'm Red Bull and I want that win that badly, that I'm not gonna say salty. I don't think they're salty over it. But if they're that much pursuing to make sure that Reese wins the race, they can easily go back to a move that we caught on stream, I think twice, where Stenner could be give. I don't want to say it because it'd be harsh. Maybe because it happened twice, it would be fair. But a move at, I believe, turn 1 and a move into turn 3 where, Reese had to back off because the closing speed and in a little bit of weaving and bobbing from Stenner, the leading car at the time. So that's what, if Red Bull feels that Stenner is going to get the same penalty that Reese would get if that does happen for the turn 4 thing for both incidents, then Red Bull would go look back at that, because that is what I think you saw it barely on the stream when you were looking at your notes twice there, a little weaving, a little bob, and these guys stream the races as well, so they can easily find that themselves on the onboards, where if they think that's going to be the same penalty, well, that's exactly where you counter that argument and say, look, you're not getting the win even if I get a penalty too. I have a clip of you weaving twice, or at least moving late to where I had to let off and not hit you, or I'd at least back off to not cause collisions. So, if Red Bull, and I'm not saying Red Bull are that kind of team, but I'm saying if they're that desperate, they would go back and look for it. But hey, we spoke about desperation. If that was the case, both teams would be desperate, in my opinion, with Stenner's move being desperate and Red Bull being desperate to get that win. And you can't blame them because Reese might feel like he's robbed out of a win. Obviously Reese had the stuff with Stenner at the beginning, which obviously robbed others out of a potential chance at the win. But Stenner was the one who, you could argue, robbed Reese's chances of getting back by. So obviously Reese might think of it in a sense where it's like, hey, I might have caused stuff behind me, but it was between us two, and you robbed our chances at it. So, it's very interesting stuff to see here when it comes to the storage room later on tonight with what's reported, and tomorrow too, and later throughout the week with what's penalized and what's not. We will just have to find out on the stewards report. And there wasn't too many incidents that were bad enough at Austria. I've seen a hell of a lot worse, but even with tier 1's incidents throughout the last couple races going up slightly, we've kept it quite good compared to F2 and tier 2. And I can gladly say, compared to F2 and tier 2, much more cleaner racing and much more crazy battles that were very good, by the way. Last lap a little bit questionable, I know, that outlie the bad stuff in the race that we may have caught. So fair play to these tier 1 guys doing what they just did. And yeah, Minion's thinking, let's just disqualify the whole top 5 so he could win, Maybe he's thinking of that. I don't know.
Yeah,
hey,
I just saw that.
A little bit of fun. A little bit of fun, right? We can always have a little bit of fun. So I hope you're there next week for tier 2 Minion, since we do speak of that. That would be great to see you at least be there with you and Owen at Monza, so the title isn't won by both drivers not showing up or only one. That would be sad to see. That would be depressing to commentate on. But yeah, that's the thing. We'll have to see what happens with penalties and whatnot. I don't know. We shall see. Should be fun. Hate to see it, though.
Should be interesting to say the least. But yeah, so that's going to conclude the stream for today. So we'll go over again on what is happening for next week. So Friday, Tier 2 is going to be at their penultimate round at Monza. You'll be seeing Ryan Ocon on comms for that one. F2's penultimate round is going to be also in Italy, but at Imola. That is also going to be handled by Ryan Ocon as well. And hopefully you'll be joining me for next week's Tier 1 race for where it's going to be home for a lot of drivers. They're going to be racing around in Silverstone next week. So that will be interesting there. So that is the rounds for next week. And that ends the stream there. So from RPL Streams, Ty and Ironwolf and Ryan Ocon, we're saying good night. Have a great one.